Hello and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. Today we have Netflix 408th film from 2021. It's the Polish action film called Bartkowiak. It's directed by Daniel Markowicz and stars Szymon Bobrowski, Janusz, Chabior, and Zofia. Domalik. I am Jesse. I am your host. Thank you for joining me today for this Netflix original film. This is the next episode in our December special month, where we're putting out a couple of episodes a week as a special gift to our listeners. So hopefully you're enjoying this festive season and getting on board in the countdown to Christmas. As always, if this is a film you haven't seen and you don't want it spoiled for you, give us a pause and come back a little bit later on, because as we go, yes, I will be spoiling the film and giving away parts of the plot and the story. So pause now. Otherwise, we are going into our fast flicks, where we do a quick little summary of what the film is all about. So this one, it's about an ex-MMA fighter who loses his brother and gets involved in dodgy politics to get revenge. Whew, intriguing. This is an action film. There's lots of fighting in this and lots of thugs and lots of things like that. So if that's your type of film, you might enjoy this one. Around the world, there's not much really to work out how this film was put together, or it's an international film on Netflix. Nothing very different. Bartkowiak, the title, is the surname of our main protagonist. So around the world in Chinese, it's just called The Grudge of Bartkowiak. So they changed his name a little bit, but otherwise, around the world, it's literally just gone with the surname of our main character. Netflix's logline for this one, it's after his brother dies in a car crash, a disgraced MMA fighter takes over the family nightclub and soon learns his sibling's death wasn't an accident. Ooh, intrigue. This hit Netflix worldwide on the 28th of July, 2021. The film was actually written by an Australian screenwriter called Daniel Bernardi. So there you go, a little Australian connection there for us. It was filmed in Poland. That's all I've got. Let's talk about what the critics and audiences are saying about this film. So Rotten Tomatoes, it's only got 2 reviews from critics, so no consensus there. 1 rotten and 1 fresh, so that doesn't tell us anything. Audience, however, that is at 28%. That's very low, and that is on less than 50 ratings. On IMDb, it's only got 1,500 ratings, sits at a 5.1 out of 10, so a little bit on the low end. Same for Letterboxd, it sits at a 2.6 out of 5 and has only been rated by 890 people, or logged by 1,200 people. So you'd have to say not a lot of people have got on board to say that they've seen this film. I have, so you're lucky. You get to listen to me talk about it. My early thoughts on this film. It started off pretty poorly, but it was watchable. The fight scenes are nothing too impressive or anything to write home about, but it's worth watching through to see where it goes. Like, I wasn't wanting to pause or turn it off at any stage, so that's a highlight for me in this one. All right, let's talk about the characters. The characters in this film. So, as mentioned already, Tomasz Bartkowiak. There we go. I know that's not how you say it properly, but he is our main character. He is the MMA champion who's been dethroned, and he's given up on MMA fighting, and he lives this quiet little life as a bouncer. He's sort of gone away from the spotlight, and he's brought back to the city after his brother dies, and he feels an obligation, I guess, to look after his brother's nightclub. This is a different nightclub, I think, from the one he was working at, and to work out why his brother died, and that's where we get to meet a lot of the people along the way. So his brother, Victor, I think is how you say it. He was Tomas's brother during his fighting career, and he's barely in the film realistically. As I've sort of mentioned, he's killed off pretty much at the start of the film. So this film is about revenge, obviously, about revenge and chasing and working out why your brother has passed away. The other characters, we've got Powell. Powell, that's Tomas's trainer, and he lost everything when Tomas lost his big fight, or Bartkowiak, and he bet everything on his last fight. Down and out, turns to drinking, and he needs something to get him out of this funk, and that's when Tomas taking over this nightclub of his brother's, it gives him a little bit of passion, as well as his daughter, Dominika. So Dominika, it's a very random little situation, but she's Powell's daughter and becomes a love interest to Tomas. They've obviously known each other for a long time, but she also has this handy profession, I guess, of working in line with a lot of the seedy politicians and thugs that are in this film, because she works at City Hall, and this is the information that Tomas needs to know to try and work out why people are trying to buy his brother's nightclub and trying to take it down and causing havoc among the streets and the city and his brother's life as well. Rafał Kolodziejski, he's the villain of the film. He he works his magic behind the scenes with politicians and people and with money, as well as using brute force to get what he wants. So he's sort of the main bad guy. Repek, also known as the Scar. This is the guy in the MMA fighting ring that ends Tomaz's championship run. But he obviously joins Rafal on the bad side to continue this streak against Tomaz and hold that over his head. And again, another way for Tomaz to get vengeance against people who have wronged him, because it's sort of shown throughout the film a little bit, just slyly underlining. It's very very under the lines. It's not explicit in your face, but they imply that there was some sort of doping allegation against Tomaz, and you've got to expect that Repek and Rafal had something to do with that. Dominica's bald boss, I can't remember his name. I found it too hard to sort of write down who he was, but he clearly wants in with her. He works in City Hall, so she uses and abuses him. And he tries to help her and Bart towards the end, but it's sort of too late. But yeah, they're the main characters in the film. There's very little that you need to know about them other than this is a revenge film with fighting. The director of the film, Daniel Markowicz, has done a lot of visual effects supervision. I think that was on 41 different projects, 5 directing credits, 3 more in the pipeline. So obviously making his way through the film industry in Poland, which is nice to see. The scenes. Let's talk about some scenes. What worked, what didn't work. The things that I liked. There's this line at one of the nightclubs at the start of the film, and there's a guy in a wheelchair, and they just let him in and let him cut the line. I really liked that. I thought that was really good representation and just something that wasn't so obvious but just felt normal. I thought that was cool. I thought Dominica, I mentioned before, she's the love interest of Tomaz. I thought that she was his sister for a long time. So when they go to her house and get it on, I was like, oh, okay, they're not siblings. That just sort of surprised me, and that's why that stood out for me. Powell, the dad, he comes to the nightclub and starts smacking some guys, and he's like, yep, I'm in to work here. I thought that was cool. And the Steppy D guy's bouncer, this Steppy D is like this rap artist who has some beef at the start with Tomaz, comes on board with him. I really liked his bouncer, and he switches over and wants to help out Tomaz, so I thought I liked him as a character. He was cool. Things that didn't work. The opening fight between Bart and Repek, it just felt lame. There was literally no crowd. It didn't set the mood properly for me for what I was expecting, I guess, in a film that's literally about an MMA fighter. The first club scene too, the color grading was super weird, and it really took me away from the film, as well as like they were trying to be creative, and there's these really big long tracking shots following the owner throughout the club. It was like they were trying to be arty and wanted to show it and highlight it, and just didn't work. Tomaz arrives at the car crash of his brother, Victor, and the whole crime scene setup was just a little bit laughable. And I know they used it as flashbacks so that Tomaz could work out that these were some of the people that were trying to take the club down and things like that. It just didn't work. Dominica, she's leaving her work at City Hall. This is sort of our first, as an audience, our first introduction to her. And some guy just randomly tries to hold her up and steal her handbag, and she just beats him up. It was just an excuse to show that she can stand her own ground. I thought that was quite funny. Powell and Bart fighting in the ring. Just this old guy, young guy, trying to show each other's worth. It felt super lame. Kolodeski, the bad guy, he just smacked this guy with a golf club to death out on the putting green. I don't know, it just felt like this is an obvious way to show you how bad he is. I thought that was funny. But he was ready to sign the club away, and then I mentioned this before, he has this flashback of him seeing the same logo on the sale papers as the truck at the car accident that killed his brother. It was just a little bit laughable. Bart and Dominica, they hug all the time when something bad happens. They just have a hug. So sweet. And finally, I felt like Bart sitting in a chair to be tortured was just this last opportunity to get his shirt off. It felt like there was no reason for that other than to show his abs. Okay, some themes, some ideas. Gentrification plays a big part in this film. Developers pushing people out with thugs and force, and out with the old, in with the new, and politics and that side of things. So that was there throughout. There was obviously some more underlying issue with Polish politics and protests and standing up. So I don't have a big background in that, but it was clear and obvious, and I'm sure would connect a lot more with people living in Poland. And finally, revenge. I've said that word many times already in this episode, but looking out for your family, upholding your family name, and seeking that revenge or closure at times as well would be a good way of putting it. What else did I take away from this film? I mentioned this rapper sort of guy, Steppy D, before. He's like a VIP kind of, I don't even know how you describe him, but he's like wears all the chains and the gangster clothes and stuff like that. I had to look him up because I was like, is this a real artist in Poland that's like a cameo almost? But I don't think he was. So it's just a character that was made for the film. All right, some questions, some pondering, some thoughts, some ideas. I think, and I said this before, there's this big deal made about Bart or Tomaz being juiced up. And I don't know why. Like, he got beat in the fight. So why do they need to add that in? It just add this further intrigue about people out to support dodgy people like Repek. I don't know. I don't think it added anything, and I don't think it was really that important. I know they dropped it a few times throughout the film, but I don't think it was that important. Chroming, is that an issue in Poland? There's a random scene where the dad, Dominika's dad, is going home to his apartment. There's a bunch of kids chroming or using paper bags in the sort of doorway. I don't know, like, is this... I thought it was an interesting thing. I didn't realize that was something that still occurs. And there's some big stresses towards the back end in the film as Tomaz's family and friends are all being taken, and his colleagues. And there's this big stress about his mother, who we see in one scene. And it's like, cool, I'm going to go check in on her. But there was no follow-up. Is she okay? Did she survive? I don't know. I'm intrigued. That could have been a good little closure as well. All right, I'm ready to wrap this one up. We give the film a rating out of 5 on this show. So at the start of this one, I was ready to hate this, and I think I got into it and had a good time just seeing what happened. It's nothing new in the genre, but it's an okay watch. It's a 2 out of 5. It's an okay watch. Give us a follow on socials if you can. Give us a like on X, formerly known as Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, wherever you can find us. But a question I wanted to ask was, do you like gardening? Sounds like a very random question if you haven't seen this film and you're just listening to me rant. But this is in reference to Rafael, the villain, his final speech to Dominika. He's got this inside garden and he's talking about plants and making all these analogies. Do you like gardening? I'm growing to like it, is probably my response. I've got a pretty big garden, so especially springtime, it's a bit hard with the amount of weeds, but it can be relaxing. It can be a nice switch off at times as long as it's not too strenuous work. But gardening, do you enjoy it? Let us know in the social media posts. Other than that, we're back again for another Christmas bonus episode in the next few days. The next film that we're going to talk about is the 2021 romantic comedy called Resort to Love. A rom-com, awesome. This one is directed by Steven Tushita and stars Christina Milan, Jay Farrow, and Sonequa Walls. So give that one a watch if you can before our next episode. As always, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.